Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
Once again, we are back. He is the great Mike Steph. I am the MoJoKing, and we are Hidden Gems Golf. We are not Hidden Gems Golf, and we are Hidden Gems Football. Definitely a Hidden Gems. This week, I have a new shirt on finally. I didn't shave, but it kind of blends in with the beard now. I feel a little bit better. That mustache thing was weird.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know your name is Mo, but the mustache.
All right. Anyway, this week we are discussing the NFC East. Mike Steph, do you have one big thing about the East?
One big thing when it comes to the NFC East has to be my New York Football Giants, the Dreamin', if you will. During the offseason, there was a lot of controversy amongst the fan base and amongst the media pundits on who they decided to pay and who they didn't. You know, the one person they decided to pay, maybe more than he really deserved, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was given a $160 million contract for 4 years. That equaled out $40 million a year for his first, dare I say, respectable season since he's been in the league. Now, the person that the majority of people felt that deserved a long-term extravagant contract, at least albeit in his position, would have been Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley coming off a stellar season, coming off a season in which he really was the straw that stirred the drink, that was the engine that propelled the Giants to their first postseason appearance in a couple years. The Giants, who not only forego the rebuilding process, got to the postseason and won a wild card game against those overrated Minnesota Vikings until they met their untimely demise in the city of brotherly love against those Philadelphia Eagles. Now, a lot of the scuttlebutt that was going in the offseason was, well, the best way to create the most flexibility possible is to franchise Danny Dimes, because you want to make sure that he's not just a one-year wonder, and to actually give a long-term contract to Saquon Barkley. But you know what Saquon Barkley ended up getting? If Danny Dimes got 4 years, $160 million, Saquon got franchise tags. And not only was that below his value, it was actually a slap to his face, because everybody knows that without Saquon Barkley, Danny Dimes does not have the season of minuscule stats that he actually accumulated. Remember, Danny Dimes only had 15 touchdowns last season. Saquon Barkley was primarily responsible for the one-on-one coverage he got on the outside. You know how much Saquon Barkley got when he eventually ended his 2-day holdout? He got 1 year, which is all that he could sign for because it was past the deadline, for $11 million. $11 million. The franchise tag, I believe, for running backs were $10.5 million. So he held out for 2 days for an extra $500,000 mil in incentives. How do you think that resonates in the locker room? We're going to find out soon. The bottom line of all this, the big thing that I'm looking for when it comes to the New York Giants is how they're going to integrate a very disappointed Saquon Barkley into what they're trying to accomplish, which is to build upon the success from last year.
Do you think that the Giants were any different from every other team in the league and how they're handling quarterbacks and running backs at this point?
While business-wise, you can say, well, there's a lot of wear and tear on the running backs, so that's why they're not being invested. I come from the school of you always set up the pass with the run. Up until recently, all the championship teams always had some semblance of a running game. The running game takes pressure off their franchise quarterback. especially this year. It seems like this year it's almost like collusion amongst the owners and saying, you know, we're going to draw the line, and we're not going to value this position. We're going to chew them up, and we're going to spit them out. I guess that's my question. My answer to your question.
All right. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the Giants since we're already there. Their offensive scoring was ranked 18th last year. They tried to work on this by getting a couple of people to catch the ball for Daniel Jones. In particular, Paris Campbell out of Indianapolis, and a big trade for tight end Darren Waller. They also drafted in the 3rd round wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. And they signed Jamison Crowder. And then, of course, there's the older group of Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale Robinson, etc. Outside of Waller, I don't see necessarily a star, a true number one out of these receivers, but they definitely improved it. The offensive line also looks like it's going to be improved. On the defensive side, they seem to hold their own, but they weren't very big in sacks or interceptions. So they're going to have to work on that a little bit. They drafted cornerback Dante Banks out of Maryland in the 1st round, and he's probably going to be a starter from day one. All right, Mike Steph. Last year, they were 9-7, made it to the 2nd round of playoffs. Their win total expectancy is 7.5, according to covers.com. Do you like the over or under that total?
That's interesting. They could take a dip in their win total and actually be a better team than they were last year. I believe their first 7 games on the schedule are brutal. I believe they're actually the underdog in at least 6 of those 7 games. The only game that they're favorite going into it, I think, is the Arizona Cardinals. The amount of Giant slander would be minuscule coming out of this spout for various reasons. Love you, cool. So I'm going to go over. If you really think about it, yeah, I know the schedule was easier last year. They did struggle in the second half. I believe they were 3-5-1 toward the end of the season, and after a 6-1 start. I'm still going to go over because I have that much faith in Brian Daboll as a coach, and I believe he's going to put more on Daniel Jones's plate because he has more weapons at his disposal. One of the receivers we forgot to mention is Isaiah Hodgins, who came on strong toward the end of the year. I believe they still have Bellinger, so they could run a lot of 2 tight end sets to go along with Darren Waller. So they have the weapons. Saquon is going to be even more motivated than he might have been if he would have got the long-term contract. So all those signs lead to the over.
Well, I definitely see where you're going there. And, in theory, they could win 8 games, go 8-9, and still be over. There's no doubt that Brian Daboll has done an amazing job with them. I just think that they got lucky on their win total. Wait, what are you laughing about? Did I do something?
I feel the opposite coming on. I went over. I feel the under. This is carrying on the narrative that we've had leading up to this edition. I go high, he goes low. He goes low, I go high. Yes, that is the same thing. You see how I switched it up, though. So continue.
Well, you're right, because I have several questions about this team. I think they won a lot of games by very thin margins. And remember, coming into last year, they were expected to be really bad, like maybe 6 wins. They definitely weren't supposed to be in playoff contention at all. Are they that good? Or did they just eke out some games because of smart coaching and lucky bounces? I tend to think it was the lucky bounces. They got Daniel Jones a couple more weapons. I don't know if Daniel Jones could be the same weapon as he was last year. Definitely not exactly looking for him to outshine what he was before. Now, maybe Brian Daboll figures it out and figures out a way to manipulate this season and get a couple more real close wins. But I just think that they are probably going to go under. I think they're going to be in a bunch of close games. I think that this year, though, there may be losses instead of wins in those areas. And by the way, I just want to point out one more thing. If I'm Saquon Barkley and I'm running near the sidelines and a player's coming to hit me, I'm not putting my head down. I'm running out of bounds. And I'm screaming, show me the money when I'm on the sideline.
He runs out of bounds, talking like this. Instead of getting the first down, he'll get out maybe a yard before the first down marker. So instead of he doing this, he's like, show me the money and I'll get that extra yard.
Yep.
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between BLUEVIEW Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at BLUEVIEW Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. BLUEVIEW Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/BLUEVIEW19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC champions from last year. Coach Nick Sirianni has a 23-11 record with the team. They have new coordinators, both offensively and defensively this year, because everybody started picking off that Eagle coaching staff. So new offensive coordinator is Brian Johnson, who was their quarterback coach. So I'm sure Jalen Hurts isn't too upset about that. And then new defensive coordinator is Sean Desai. As far as their roster goes, they're pretty much intact except for one position. So quarterback, you have Jalen Hurts. Running back is where they have to change. Miles Sanders is gone. Instead, DeAndre Swift and Rashard Penny are in his place. At wide receiver, you still have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. At tight end, you have Dallas Goedert. Last year, their offense was ranked 2 in scoring, while their defense was ranked 7 in scoring. A complete solid team all the way around. They were 14-3. This year, their win expectancy is listed as 11.5. Mike Steph, what do you have to say about that win total and about this team?
I'll go over. The Eagles, I want to say they're probably the second best team in the NFC behind the 49ers. Yeah, I said it. And you mentioned the fan base. I swear, the Eagles fan base is slowly becoming, matter of fact, not slowly, it's fastly becoming one of the most egotistical, delusional fan bases in the NFL. Matter of fact, they're becoming more delusional than the next team that we're probably going to talk about, which is the Cowboy Nation. Because you would think, okay, they got to the Super Bowl, they lost in their case, heartbreaking fashion, and they're still 5-6 months later talking about the turf. The turf is a problem. You know, if we had better turf, there's no way in hell that Kansas City would have beat us. But guess what? The turf was the same for both sides. Kansas City beat y'all. But y'all such juggernauts. Y'all wasn't ready. But I digress. Also, y'all have to realize, Philadelphia Eagle Nation, if that's what y'all call it, Eagles, whatever. Would y'all have gotten to the Super Bowl if y'all played a team with an actual quarterback? Oh, how the memory is which guy just fogged up. Would y'all have even gotten to the championship game if y'all didn't play a scared to death Daniel Jones? Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Eagles because they are just they're very infuriating. But to get into some facts here, they did draft defensive tackle Jalen Carter, who was projected to be like a top 3 pick. And because of some controversy right before the draft, or matter of fact, during the draft process, he kind of fell down into their laps. And they used him to actually replace the departed Javon Hargrave, who we spoke about in previous episodes. So at least the interior of their defense, you would think, would still be stout. But a question that you did bring up also was, is Jalen Hurts really the truth? Or was he a one-year wonder himself? Now, he has been trending up. And far be it from me to throw any type of slander to the black quarterback. No, that will not come out of my mouth. But it's a Jalen Hurts that we saw last season, the real deal, the real article, the Jalen Hurts that signed at the time a record-breaking quarterback amount, well, a record-breaking contract amount for a quarterback. Is that the Jalen Hurts we're going to get and maybe a step above, or is he going to take a step back? Even though I did pick the Eagles to go over, I think that's more of the fact of I do not believe in the rest of the NFC conference as a whole as than it is for me to actually be on the Eagles bandwagon. So to me, like I said, they'll be fortunate enough to face the same quality of teams that they faced last year. Because it seemed like every time they came up with one of these statement-making games, someone conveniently was missing from the opposition. What happened this year? Who knows? But over.
Well, this is a weird scenario because we're going to agree, but it's going to sound like we disagree because you went over and then trashed them the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So
I gotta get my Eagles trash out. That green-colored team. It's only one real green team in this league. We'll talk about later.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm with you on the over. I think Jalen Hurts is for real. Unlike the progress that Daniel Jones made, which seemed unsustainable to me, what Jalen Hurts has done growing into what he's becoming, I think he's really just a special quarterback. And this team is mostly intact. There's no real, they didn't really have any holes from last year to this. I really like them. They won 14 last year, so they could lose 2 more and still go on this over. This is one of those things that if this over is still, if it's still at 11.5, when we get off of this show, I'm going to go bet that right now because I'm pretty confident in it. Obviously, you can never tell. There might be an injury and then everything goes haywire. But if they stay healthy, I think their 11.5 is low.
I have a question for you because you did mention the change in the backfield. Do you believe that's a step up or a step down?
In my opinion, it's a sideways move. They're putting in 2 pretty competent running backs to replace Miles Sanders, who was a competent running back. And it honestly, it kind of doesn't matter at all because all you have to do is set Jalen Hurts up, get a guy behind him to butt push him up 3-4 yards and just keep going down the field like that. You know, I mean, if this was a video game, I would just do that all the way down the field.
And that's another reason why I can't stand the Eagles because that's not no ingenuity. I mean, and the last thing I'll say about the Eagles, their coach, Sirianni, I swear he's one of those dudes that he has never met a camera that he did not enjoy.
I am the Mojo King. He is the great Willie Freeman, and together we are Hip Hop Hidden Gems.
Hip Hop Hidden Gems is a podcast where we celebrate the golden age of hip hop and take a deep dive into artists you probably know and love, but focus on songs you might not be as familiar with. We analyze the gems from 2 unique perspectives. Sometimes we'll focus on a single verse, other times an entire song. Past episodes include Gangstar, Chino XL, Digital Underground, Scarface, and Big Daddy Kane.
So if you're a hip hop head or just love listening to 2 brilliant minds, check out Hip Hop Hidden Gems. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, and any platform you choose.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Well, this is going to be interesting because as much as you slandered Philadelphia, up next is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
Did you say the Jets?
Yeah, you know.
That's insane. All right, it's the Dallas Cowboys. coached by Mike McCarthy. He is 30-20 with the Cowboys. They have a new offense coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. Dak Prescott is back. Had a rough year last year as far as interceptions, threw 15 of them. At running back, who is not back, is Ezekiel Elliott. He's gone. Tony Pollard is taking over the role. He had over 1,000 yards last year and 9 touchdowns himself, which is interesting because Zeke was doing most of the short running. They signed Ronald Jones. He may or may not make an impact. The Cowboys are said to like their second-year running back, Malik Davis, and he may give Tony Pollard a spell. Their wide receivers are strong. CeeDee Lamb had over 1,300 yards last season and 9 touchdowns. They acquired Brandon Cooks. And, of course, Michael Gallup is back, and he should be fully recovered from the ACL tear he had 2 years ago. Tight end, there's a change. Dalton Schultz is gone. In his place will be Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker, who was drafted in the second round and is supposed to be a phenomenal athlete as far as catching the ball. And then the defense has Micah Parsons, who is a generational talent. People run around saying that he looks like Lawrence Taylor.
Blasphemous.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one to hold up to. They traded for Stephon Gilmore, and they drafted a defensive tackle, Mazi Smith, in the first round. Their defense is looking pretty good too. All right. Last year they were 12-5. That was the second year back-to-back that they've won 12 games. In the playoffs, they put Tom Brady into retirement and then lost a pretty close game to the 49ers. Their expected win total is 10.5 games this year. What do you say, Mike Steph? Over or under 10.5?
You said over 10.5. I'm leaning over. Mike McCarthy, he has always been a good regular season coach. Going back to his days in Green Bay, you could always count on Green Bay to at least get in the double digits, 10 wins, 11 wins, so forth. And right now, except for the year that they lost Dak, 12 wins. So you said the over-under is 10.5?
Yes, sir.
I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. I'll go over. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but last year, you have Philly with 14 wins and you had Dallas with 12. But to me, at the end of the day, 12 wins, 13 wins, 11 wins means nothing if they cannot really make a big run in the postseason. They did make incremental steps because the year before last, 12 wins, they lost at home against San Francisco in the wild card. Okay. Last year, they won the wild card and then lost in the divisional round to those same San Francisco 49ers. So you would think wild card, divisional round, this would be the year that they would get to the championship game. But they got so much talent that talent alone should get them at least 10 wins. So I go over.
All right. Well, we're in full agreement this time because I also am going over. I expect their offense to be slightly different, maybe a little bit more controlled. I think Dak is not going to quite have as much opportunities to throw wild interceptions. I think they're going to control him a little bit more and just be more efficient. My only real question towards them in general is Tony Pollard really ready to take over full-time duty as far as the running back? But everything looks all systems go with them. I would say the one reason that they are not considered Super Bowl contenders, though, is because between Philadelphia and the 49ers, it seems like they are the top tier, and Dallas is the tier right below them. They really need, apparently, to avoid the 49ers.
Right.
So maybe the Eagles could knock out the 49ers, and then Dallas could give the Eagles a go. All right, last and probably least are the Washington Commanders. They're coached by Ron Rivera, He has been 22. He's gone 22, 27, and 1 as coach of the Commanders. They have a new offensive coordinator, a pretty big name, Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City. But he has some questions to deal with. One of the interesting ones is at quarterback. Is it going to be Sam Howell or veteran Jacoby Brissett? Both of them are there to replace Tyler Heineke. At running back, a big bruiser, Brian Robinson, who, if you remember, was having a pretty good season and then got shot, but recovered and came back and looks pretty solid. He will probably be their lead back, but they also have Antonio Gibson, who did a lot of the lead running while Robinson was out. Their wide receiver crew is pretty strong, headlined by Terry McLaurin. They also have Curtis Samuel and youngster Johan Dotson. At tight end, they have Logan Thomas, who, by the way, is going to be one of my fantasy sleepers this year. But again, they have to worry about who's throwing to them. Their defense, as far as points against, were ranked 8th. Their defense was really solid. Last year, they were 8-1. This year, their win expectancy is pretty low at 6.5. Are you going to go over or under? How much trust do you have in your boy, Eric Bieniemy, as far as the offense goes?
You know, it really disappoints me to say that, well, for everything you just said, there's no way in hell I can go over. But I think that would be only detrimental to one person and one person only. And that would be detrimental to Ron Rivera, if anything, because one thing is the fact that they do actually have a new ownership group. Daniel Snyder is no longer the owner of the Commanders. So you would think that maybe the new ownership group wants to put their imprint on the franchise that they just acquired. And with the subpar season, I don't think they would want the stench of failure of Ron Rivera to go forward. So I think this is a make or break year for Ron Rivera. And if they go based on what I believe they're going to do, which is pretty much probably win about 5-6 games, he'll probably be shown the door, and hopefully that will open up an opportunity for Eric Bieniemy if he shows and proves that he can develop the quarterback that he has on hand. What's going to be most important is the development of Howell. And if Bieniemy can develop that quarterback into, I won't say a franchise quarterback, but somebody that they can build around while he's under this rookie deal of his, so they can kind of build the other areas of the team around the rookie contract of the quarterback, then I'll go a long way into their development, into their progression in the seasons to come. So this is once again going to be one of these situations of the record is important, but it's not as important as the development of the young players, the development of the quarterback, development of the offense as a whole. So, under 6.5 or under 6 wins. Pretty much, they ain't winning 7 wins. They ain't winning 7 games.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go with you on this one too. We talked about the strengths of the rest of the division. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Bieniemy is able to do with this squad. The pass catchers are pretty good, but Patrick Mahomes isn't walking through that door. So,
I have a question. Well, I know they drafted Howell, and of course they really wanted to put their eggs in that basket to hopefully nurture and bring him, make him the future. For some reason, in the back of my mind, I'm like, if they would have showed a little bit more faith in Heineke, I believe Heineke with Eric Bieniemy at the helm of the offense, I believe that might have been the way to go, at least in the immediate future. Because look at the limited success Heineke had in the last couple of years when he was actually given the confidence and given the playing time. He got them on the verge of a playoff game. Or what's it, a playoff game a couple of years ago against Tampa Bay. Matter of fact, yeah, I think they made the playoffs that time. And then last year, it was due to the fact of the confidence in Heineke. He already knew that coaching staff really don't want me to have the job. They put Howell in. They pretty much throwing the towel on the season. That made him say, like, look, if y'all not really gonna start me, deactivate me. I don't feel like being here. I just for some reason in the back of my mind, I'm like, if they would have kept Heineke, all right, not give him like a $200 million contract, but they would have retained Heineke and combined him with Eric Bieniemy. I don't know, something about Heineke that has that it factor when it comes to making plays. And I don't know, Ron Rivera for his coaching job better hope that he made the right decision. That's just me.
Well, I don't know. Heineke definitely had his moments, but to me, he reminds me of Gardner Minshew, who, when he has his moments, you're like, hey, that guy could play. You love his spirit. You love his heart. His talent isn't top tier. And I don't think they wanted to pay somebody that they thought was going to be mediocre or when he's at best. So they give Howe a shot. They don't have to pay him. And if he flops, they just go get another one. So I think that's basically what that was. All right. We are done with the NFC East. Mike Steph, take us out.
Okay. I agree with you, Mo, that this division is going to be interesting. Remember, last year, 3 playoff teams came out of this division. You know, it was a very competitive division. So, you know, hopefully that carries over, and especially due to the weakness of the NFC as a whole, I believe we are going to see some highlights come out of the beast in the East in the NFC. So with all that being said, let me get us out of here. Hidden Gems Football has been a part of the Goodbye.
Bye-bye, folks.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
He'll run out. I'm sorry. The slander is just oozing out of me like a sip.
Let's go to the defending champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the defending NFC champions.
The defending crybabies.
Oh my goodness.
My bad. I got infatuated with my own face. Listen. I don't know. It might be a little bit. You know what? Being the fact that we're a family-friendly show, I'm gonna button that up. But yeah, he's disgusting.